Thanks for joining us today on the AIMS videocast series. Today's presentation was delivered by Andrew Fielding, the Business Development Manager with the Boating Industry Association. I'd like to thank Andrew on behalf of the AIMS board, as well as our fantastic range of speakers at our recent Biennial conference, which was held in Brisbane on the 27th of September 2024. This presentation was in part made possible by our partnership with BIA, focusing on vessel safety. More information on that partnership in the videocast description below. Our conference was only made possible through the generous support of our conference sponsors. More information on our sponsors can be found in the videocast description below, as well as information on other aspects of the conference. Thank you for joining us. I know you'll enjoy the presentation, but enough from me. I'll hand over to Andrew Fielding.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just commented to somebody on my table that now that you've all been fed, please don't fall asleep on me. And if I speak for too long, kick me off, and if I don't, feel free to ask me any questions that you might have. So as mentioned, my name's Andrew Fielding. I work for the Boating Industry Association. I've been in the marine industry my whole life. I never actually intended to work in the marine industry. I thought I'd be the only family member in 3 generations who wouldn't, and somehow I'm still here. But it has been an extremely good industry to me and my family, and that's a big part of the reason why I like to give back. So prior to my employment by the BIA, I volunteered in different roles for about 15 years for Marine Queensland, and then when Marine Queensland merged with Boating Industry Association Limited, I went across onto their board and eventually became their first Queensland president. And then when I think I had a midlife crisis or a mental breakdown after our industry had a 30% increase during COVID. So I gave my job to my son Curtis, much to his shock. And then fortunately, these guys asked me to come back and continue the work that I've been doing for them. So I am very, very fortunate. I know we've been talking a lot about the commercial part of industry today. As you're aware, I represent recreational and light commercial, and these are just some stats that we released a couple of weeks ago. So for the first time, our industry, recreational boating, has tipped over $10 billion that it contributes to the national economy. We employ 28,000 people plus contractors. That's a very conservative figure. There's over 2,000 businesses. 1 in 10 Australians have a boat licence. In Queensland, we just tipped over our 1 millionth licence holder. There may be a few of those who are no longer with us, but we are apparently at 1 million. There's 970,000 boats registered nationally. 10% of registered vessels are PWCs, jet skis. I'm sure you're all aware of that. JSW Watersports at the Gold Coast has just had its 12th consecutive year of being the largest jet ski dealer in the world, which is amazing considering second is a dealer in Florida in the US with a population about 10 times of what we have here in our country. 85% of the boats in our market are under 6 metres in length, and 60% of boating trips are up to 4 hours in duration. 1 in 5 Australian families actually have some type of watercraft, and keeping in mind that registration stats don't bring into the many, many thousands of vessels that are out there that don't actually need to be registered. So a little bit about the BIA. So we've been supporting our members since 1960. We have, on there it says 650 member businesses. It's nearing 700 at the moment for this year. We represent boating in Australia with a united voice. We are the peak industry body in Australia. We are led by industry for industry. My team is comprised, very different word, of experienced boating sector specialists and professionals. For example, out of our small team of 9, we have myself, which has a lot of experience in boat brokerage, boat retailing, wholesale. We have a gentleman in Adelaide who has many, many years' experience out of British Marine in vessel standards. We have our advocacy and PR gentleman in Noosa who actually is 27 years at Transport for New South Wales. And we have a very good finance person who is I'm very fortunate to have, because you don't want me to have any control over your bank accounts. We really do pride ourselves on providing invaluable knowledge and capabilities to our members. So, as has been mentioned a couple of times today, a big part of what I asked my association to do when I was president was about collaborating more with the boating industry. And that certainly includes marine surveyors, and I'll get to that, my sort of thoughts on that relationship between particularly brokers and marine surveyors shortly. But our industry association represents 90% of the marine industry. What we do is enable people to go boating. So anything that touches the water, I think that we should be involved with. I do a lot with, you heard from Kel recently about maritime infrastructure. I do a lot with MSQ in relation to maritime infrastructure, because I think that there's an enormous amount of importance in our ability to actually get people onto our waterways. Our divisions are made up of 6 different categories of manufacturers, sales, storage, servicing, professional services, and of course the tourism industry, which is an important part of our industry. So the BIA's mission is to support members to build thriving marine businesses through an offer of tailored programs, products and services. Our vision is to keep a vibrant industry supporting boating as a standout choice of leisure activity for everybody. It was certainly the case during COVID, so our challenge now is to make sure that that remains the case. And our key priorities is to grow participation in boating, to deliver government advocacy, to deliver industry-focused programs, products and services, and to promote education, skills and jobs. That was another big thing that I emphasised in my time as president, is the fact that we need to get out there and actually make young people aware of the job opportunities that are available in our industry, whether that be in marine jobs or marine careers, and also the importance of the fact that, like my family, we're an ageing workforce, so succession planning for business owners. So most of our members, 80%, are small businesses. They employ under 10 people. They're generally owned by a family, and most of them have no idea of what they're going to do when the head of that business actually decides to retire or give it away. So a big part of what we do is actually talk to businesses about what happens next. Got a whole heap of paperwork here today. So the relationship between boat brokers and marine surveyors. I can tell you, looking at this picture here, I used to, in my 30 years almost of boat brokering or being around my father when he was selling boats before I actually came into the family business, I used to look at boats in travel lifts and think of them a bit like an iceberg, because we could tell anybody sort of what they needed to know about a boat when it was floating in the water. And I can tell you this moment, which happened for me pretty much, I used to sell about a boat every 7 or 8 days, so we get to the survey process, and that moment there was the most heart-stopping moment of my day, and it went on for 23 years. Because what's below the waterline, we're relying on what we are told from a seller, and that's where I used to do a lot of homework about what we could do to make that relationship better between brokers and surveyors, but also figure out what we do in the future to streamline that process and to take a lot of that hidden, mysterious stuff that's below the waterline out of the equation when we get to a survey time. So a big thing for me is speaking and teaching marine brokers about common issues that marine surveyors find in your jobs day to day. It still amazes me the amount of brokers that I meet who don't go into engine rooms, don't know about issues with seacocks, with different skin fittings, with pretty much anything that happens in an engine room. They'll tell you about all the nice things to do with a boat. That's a very easy way to sell a boat, but they don't know much about the actual things that you guys experience as being regular issues, and they could talk to their customers about that before you get to a survey process and actually eliminate those issues and make it a whole lot more enjoyable at this point than what it is for the three parties that are standing there, which is the buyer, the seller and the broker, plus you guys independently as marine surveyors. A lot of that issue for me came around from the fact that I've always struggled with the fact that in Australia a broker is really working for the buyer and the seller. So we go to a boat, we list it for sale, we do a boat inspection, and we're actually advising both parties really on what they should do. In my time of brokering, I then relied on the marine surveyor, not to be the bad guy, but to help sort of take a bit of the pressure off us in the fact of the conflict of interest. So it's really important that that relationship is established, I think, and that I think I have in here, it might be in this slide or the next one, but certainly to inform about what your scope of works is, and as I said, what the common things are that you generally see, and we all know that certain types of boats have little idiosyncrasies or common issues, and it's good for new brokers that are coming through industry that don't know about these things to be made aware of it, and hopefully it might make that process a bit easier. Another big thing for me in the survey process was that, and I was lucky, I worked with a number of great marine surveyors who taught me an enormous amount about boat construction, even though I've got two brothers that are boat builders, but I learned, I think, a lot more off marine surveyors in my time. But another big thing is to sit down at the end of a survey day and actually speak to the broker and the buyer about the issues that you've found. Nobody these days expects you to hand over a full written report, but to actually have a conversation about the issues that you found, because a big problem that I have experienced in the past is when that doesn't happen and you leave it 24 or 48 hours or 72 hours post a survey, that little problems become massive problems. Or 100 items on a survey report might only equate to a couple of $100 in rectifying, but in people's minds they are much bigger than what they actually really do need to be. Preventable incidents. This photo I actually took on the Broadwater out the front of my house. In case you can't work it out, it is a rather large houseboat lying on its side. And that actually happened in a storm one day down on the Broadwater. Raising awareness of fit for purpose is a massive thing in marine brokerage land. We're all, in our industry, or in this part of our industry, we're all salespeople, I get it. We want to sell something, we want to feed our families, but we do have an obligation to talk to people about fit for purpose, and I think that also comes into marine surveyors. There was a coronial inquest last year, the BB Coronial in New South Wales, for a vessel that was actually sold in Queensland. The vessel was found to have significant defects in its stability issues, and should never have been in the sea conditions. The finding was that it was in, and unfortunately it led to the new owner of that vessel being deceased. I can't tell you how many times I've suggested that somebody puts a boat on a truck when they want to take it home to where it needs to go to. It's not hard. If the boat's too big to go on a truck and it can't actually go outside of the seaway or head north to the Whitsundays, don't sell it to the guy. It's not worth the risk. And this was a classic example of somebody needing to be better informed. The internet is an amazing resource. It can be a headache for us as brokers, but there is very little out there in second-hand boat world that you can't find about a boat's history if you actually go looking. Brokers, as I said, need to ask questions about where the buyer is intending on actually going boating, including how it is that they intend to get their boat to their new home port. If a surveyor has concerns, as I mentioned, about the limitations of a vessel, please raise it with the buyer and the broker. These next 2 points aren't directed at marine surveyors. This is something that I say to marine brokers when I talk to them when they're wanting to come into our industry, but not disclosing issues about a design or a model is not okay. not disclosing a known history is not okay. The second one, again, I unfortunately see very regularly, and particularly when it comes to vessels that might have had some sort of a previous insurance claim. I do a lot of work with Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service, with the patrol, Fisheries Patrol, and I can tell you that they are actually astounded at this point in time about how ambitious our boat owners are, particularly with small watercraft. I saw a post the other day from the Volunteer Marine Rescue at the Gold Coast where they rescued a pair on a jet ski that was 12 nautical miles off the coast the other day, and fortunately had one bar left on their mobile phone to be able to ring someone's partner and have them ring the rescue services. Technology, a bit like the internet, is amazing, but it is giving our buyers an awful lot of confidence. And it's not confidence that they should have, because they're actually thinking that they are capable of doing far more than what they really are capable of doing. A big part of the service that our brokerage has offered because of this, and I know that there's changes with attitudes about boat licensing, and when someone goes and tries to get a boat licence these days, or they want to register a vessel, that Transport and Main Roads is also recommending it. But if someone comes out and is buying a boat for the first time and it's a 60-foot Riviera, they have to seek professional advice on how to run it. Insurance companies, as we are all aware, are becoming very concerned about what happens with boats in marinas and inexperienced vessels owners who are causing a lot of damage and a lot of expense, and it's driving all of our premiums up. But certainly that reinforcement from the marine surveyors about seeking professional advice is would be greatly appreciated. So along that same preventable incident, this year for the Boating Industry Association, we actually hold the Sydney International Boat Show. A big part of what we've been doing as we look at ways that we can keep people informed and improve standards. This year, in the lead into the boat show, we hosted the Standards Forum, which was hosted by the ARBSC and Standards Australia. We had 60 plus members, plus professional bodies and standards developers. Kel Dillon mentioned War on Wrecks in his speech. I've been on the War on Wrecks task force since its inception 6 years ago. I'm very keen to see that program continue, and whilst Kel's belief is that we might start to see a dip in numbers, I actually think we're going to see the reverse. There's an awful lot of 26-foot yachts, tens of thousands of jet skis, lots and lots of vessels that are no longer finding it easy to get insurance, and they're all going to need a place to go, and it's going to be in a hole in the ground unless somebody out there comes up with an amazing solution as to what we do with fiberglass. A big part of what I do is building relationships with government agencies. So as I said, I work with all of the maritime regulators. Each month I meet with all of the waterways agencies, plus Water Police, Marine Rescue. I was the external advisor for the merging of the two rescue services, which is currently happening at the moment. So Coast Guard and Marine Rescue Queensland are merging to become one entity. So we meet with them monthly. And when our membership renewals go out in a couple of weeks' time, we will be launching the Boating Industry Association's broker accreditation program. So this is very similar to what you have with AIMS and with AMSA, for those of you who went to the information session earlier. But we did have a program like this when Marine Queensland was in place, and we are bringing that back in on a national basis. So that will be rolling out in November. And what we are doing is assisting businesses to understand their duties when acting as an agent, providing documentation as accredited brokers. So we have for many years provided standard documentation that we have legally checked every year. We promote businesses as part of our accreditation program. We inform businesses in changes to regulation. We do a lot with workplace health and safety through our Marine Card program. to build better systems of compliance, increase and safety awareness, educating new business owners and brokers about business opportunities and what the industry expectation is. Another big part of what we do for industry and what you will see a lot more of is a program called Discover Boating. So for me, Discover Boating is very much not just about the promotion of boating, but we go into schools. This year I've been in front of about 20,000 school students in southeast Queensland to talk to them about not just marine careers, but getting into boating. I think that this, as we've been through COVID, we've had a 30% increase in participation. My prediction was that we were going to see a rather significant slump at the end of that period because we have a saturated market and everybody wants to go back to Bali. So Discover Boating is a program that we roll out nationally. We had over 5 million clicks on our social media pages through our last program. In November, our next program runs out. The brochure that is on the side there, we have 3 iterations of that around looking after a boat, what you should do when you're buying a boat. They go out to our retail partners and we go into the schools and we talk to them about actually waterways safety, getting into sailing programs, and it's really about getting people into boating at low or no cost, and hopefully they go home to mum and dad buy them a dinghy or a Riviera or whatever it is that they want. Again, another program that we've got going to government shortly is a responsible boat owner. So we've led the development in the national campaign to promote the importance of informed decisions based upon the theme of a great day on the water is a safe day. This is a campaign which is set to be backed by the national cohort of maritime regulators. Phase 1 is to focus on selling and buying of boats, aim to arm both sides of the transaction with information to empower informed decisions, very much around our alignment with your AIMS members. For the buyer, that will cover choosing and buying privately or via a broker. The guide to what could be considered an unsafe vessel, Australian Builders Plate and HIN, responsibilities in storage on land or water, maintenance, service and repair, upgrades, modifications and disposal of vessels. That's it for me. Thank you.